Are we live?
You're live.
All right. Welcome to another Facebook Live. Today we have Aaron Yant. He's
Hello.
a senior graphic designer, right?
That's right, yeah.
Recently promoted.
That's correct, yep.
Yeah. So can you tell them how long you've worked here and what your background is?
Sure. I've been here about a little over 2 years. I've been working with and for Taylor Studios. I started off with doing freelance work, and there was an opening here, and it fit my background, which is graphic design, but I have a strong art background as well, and I've been getting into some 3D work, and so when a position opened up, I applied and got the job, and been very excited to be here.
Yeah, we're grateful to have him. I think we subcontracted to you for one of the Indiana State Museum projects, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And what did you do on those?
I helped kind of pre-visualize a lot of the ground forms and the different areas through the 1800s in Indiana. And so coming up with some of the way the forest might have looked back at that time and the placement of the animals, and I kind of assisted with the exhibit design aspects of that.
Right, giving the client a vision of what it could look like. His views and stuff were really, really helpful in the visualization process, I'd say. Yeah. And maybe a little bit more about your background. Like, what did you do prior to Taylor Studios, and what's your specialty, and what do you love to do?
Okay, well, graphic design was where I got my start, but because of my art background, they were asking me to do a little bit more drawing and some pre-visualization of product design. So more and more I started gravitating towards that. So that's where I kind of made the transition from 2D to 3D. But I kept coming back to 2D because I still have a love for that. And that's kind of what's nice about being here is there's kind of a mix of both. Wearing different hats.
Right, yeah, so interesting. Like, so why Taylor Studios? Why do you think it's a good fit?
A friend of mine pointed me to an article about Taylor Studios. I didn't know about Taylor Studios. I wouldn't have guessed that a place like this would have been in this part of the country. I've expected that to be something out west somewhere, perhaps, just because it's this 3D fabrication aspect of really cool and lifelike products. So after I learned about Taylor Studios, I continued to track and see if maybe there would be a job opening, and when it did, I applied.
Yeah, he earned his way on by that sub work that you did, and it just went so well that we're really grateful that he came on as a team member. So it's good stuff. And so maybe some advice, since you didn't know that we were here, what would you tell others that would maybe want to work at Taylor Studios? Like, what skill sets should they get, or how would you recommend they build their career?
Well, it depends. It seems like there's a lot of crossover that happens. I guess just look and see what is good work out there and pursue that, whether it's in 2D world of graphic design or an exhibit design, or if it were some of the fabrication. Just try to look for ways you can excel and just do great work and be a great person.
Right, yeah, that's
and,
important,
I think,
right?
Because we have to get along as a team and with our clients, and paying attention to what their needs are and how we can meet them.
Yeah, that's really important. What do you do for fun?
Oh, I do hiking and some photography. I've been getting back into some digital work, photography-wise and movie-wise with my kids. I've been involving them more. Some sound design.
It all kind of relates.
Yeah,
doesn't
it does.
You
it
know,
does. A
yeah,
lot of it
it's
does.
like the hiking relates to our natural history clients, and all the others just sort of meshes in with what we do here. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important, actually, and that's another piece of advice I would offer is to keep your hand in some personal projects, because that really tends to feed the creativity, and that's something you can bring with you to work, or something unique you can show in your portfolio.
Yeah.
And you can see something that you can bring that's not just going for what is the standard, but there might be something different that you can offer.
Yeah, you can kind of break the mold, so to speak, and take some risks sort of thing. I think my horseback riding skills got me the job here.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what are you working on now?
I am working on a project dealing with the Ice Age, the early, middle, and late.
What's your favorite time period?
I like the Old West. best.
Okay. I asked that. Most people say like
yeah.
lunchtime.
Lunchtime,
Nap
yeah.
time.
Well, that's true. That's hard to beat.
Sorry, squirrel.
Squirrel, yeah. Tadpole.
So, yeah, yeah. So you're working at, is it in York that you're working on
Yes,
that one?
that's correct. Yep, we just had a workshop with them, and it went really well. It's really a great group of people that know their stuff and have a clear vision for what they want. And I'm excited to get, now that we have finished that workshop, to start digging in and fleshing out a little bit.
It might be interesting to talk about the process at the workshop, you know, how we basically collaborate with our clients to create these sort of inspirational exhibits. Maybe a little bit of how did that workshop go?
Well, they initially had the interpretive planning workshop, which they kind of worked out the big ideas for the main theme, which is the big story that the client wants to tell. And when we came back, the second time is more for, okay, now that we have this idea of what we want a visitor to come away with, the big messages, how can we make that happen? And through the different exhibitry that we would build and plan, what's the best way to do that? And
so the first workshop, it's the interpretive workshop. It's more about the story and the content. Now the one that you just went to, did you do some concept drawings and present that? So you guys stayed up at night and met with them and got what they like and dislike during the day, right? Is that how it worked?
Yeah, we worked pretty late, just kind of rolling up our sleeves and sharpening our pencils and coming up with sketches. Just different ideas. We would brainstorm as a team and kind of come up with a good sketch for how that might look, and presented that to the client.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I enjoy most, is just kind of the brainstorming aspect and collaboration and kind of coming up with the ideas, and it's just so gratifying at the end of the process to see it come to life.
Yeah, it takes a while. Some of these projects can take 18 months, but that is cool. Was there a particular drawing that they were drawn to the most, or some that they said, nah, not that?
There's one that comes to mind. I think that we had described it verbally, what our vision was for how lighting could handle the visitor flow. And people were nodding their heads, and they seemed receptive to it, but it wasn't until we kind of presented them with a sketch that kind of showed some dramatic lighting. They said, oh, now I see.
Yeah.
And so that shows the value of kind of presenting a pre-visualization step.
Right, yeah. I think it's difficult for people. Yeah, certainly from a narrative to a drawing, but sometimes even a drawing to your 3D modeling that you sometimes do, right? Help them see it even better.
Yes.
And what's the software you use for that?
I've been using a lot of ZBrush. It's a sculpting software.
Yeah.
And it allows you to kind of just show an object not just from one view, but you can, once it's sculpted, you can show it from multiple views.
Yeah.
And that's helpful.
And is that the one where you can even do like a fly-through of the gallery and show them that?
Yes.
And that's what we used on the Ice Age, or on the Indiana State.
Yes.
Right? And they were able to visualize a visitor walking through the space. You know, sometimes our clients, everybody sort of sees things differently. Some can look at a drawing, some need to see it in 3D, some need to see samples. And so you kind of have to use all those mediums to express your ideas, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, even for photography, did you take here's what it could look like as example projects?
Yeah. We'd see some of our past projects where we've used this particular type of texture on the mountain side